So good day to everyone. My name is Roger Rinker, and we're here once again with Candace McGlynn, as well as our guest speaker today, Debbie Richards. And we're very happy to have Debbie. Before we get going here and dive right into some questions for Debbie and learn a little bit about her, I just want to once again spend a moment on our virtual chat series, which is under the hashtag Keep Learning Strong. And we're doing this to help meet the needs of the moment and thriving beyond it with continuous learning. The feeling is that by connecting others and learning and development professionals online and building relationships, that we'll be able to utilize one another in the weeks and the months to come, and hopefully even beyond that, with regards to kind of the the learning agenda around Keep Learning Strong. So with that in mind, as I said before, my name is Roger Rinker. I spent 30 years as a leader for a couple of large global HR companies, and then more recently, Candace McGlynn and myself, who I worked with in my last role for a large company, we've moved into the consulting space. Our passion is around employee development and adult learning, and how we can get better at that and make it better for the user, the learner as well. Candace, anything you would add to that?
No, it's great. Just happy to be here. Like Roger said, passion is around talent development and certainly helping learning and development professionals. So just really happy to be here and doing this campaign around keeping learning strong, especially in a time where learning is of the utmost importance.
Thank you, Candace. And we'll throw up the slide with the usual advertising around how you can join us as well through LinkedIn under hashtag Keep Learning Strong, Enovation Solutions, or at Enovation Solutions, hashtag Keep Learning Strong. And please reach out to us, and we'll do another plug at the end to try to motivate some of you to share your stories with us as well. So here we are on another virtual call. Debbie Richards is our guest today. Debbie, I'm guessing you haven't done any virtual calls lately, right?
I have been on virtual calls all day long today. And, it's always a challenge working from home, and just going from call to call. I think I get a little tired of having the headset on, so I've got it off today.
Well, good. Well, we're glad you freed yourself up. And I already feel like we're kindred spirits of sorts, in that Candace and I are big quote people. Just about anything we do, whether it be a webinar or in-person training, when that happens again someday, we always bring quotes to the table for the event. And you've certainly overachieved today by bringing us three wonderful quotes. And interesting that, you would get Winston Churchill, Henry Ford, and B.B. King in a room together. So that's pretty good. And all of them are equally inspiring. So thank you for sharing those with us.
My pleasure.
So we'll start out, and can you just tell us a little bit about who you are and your company to get us kind of acquainted with you a bit?
Certainly. So I am a learning technology consultant. I'm based in Houston, Texas. And for the past few years, I've been concentrating on immersive learning. That is learning that's focused on augmented reality and virtual reality. I still get involved with learning technologies like learning management systems, virtual learning, other types of learning, but a lot of it has to do with using technology to its best capabilities. I've been doing this for many years. I started out my career as a computer scientist and was a robotics programmer right out of school, and switched to learning probably after about 10 years or so. I was teaching computer science courses at one of the local colleges and really liked being in front of a a group of students and helping them. So I switched my focus to learning and development, moved to Houston in the early 90s and started a multimedia company with a partner. And we did a lot of work with major companies, technology companies. Compaq Computers was one of our first customers, and also worked in the energy space with a lot of the companies here in Houston and also with healthcare. So I've worked with a lot of different organizations. Currently, I'm doing a lot of work with manufacturing organizations, which could be a challenge, and a lot of international companies. I also speak at a lot of conferences. I'm rarely active in the Learning Guild organization, speak at their conferences, and also with the Association of Talent Development, both in a local and a national area. So speak at the conferences for both those companies. And here in Houston, I am president of our ATD Houston chapter.
That's great, and thank you for your service there. I know that from having lived there a number of years ago, Houston has a very, very strong ATD chapter. Candace continues to keep me updated on it, and you've got a great group of people. So thank you for that. So can you tell us?
I want to just take a moment and thank your company for your support of ATD Houston and all that you do to help support us as well.
Oh, well, thank you. It's a pleasure and an honor to say the very least. So maybe you could share, and by the way, your perspective, I think, is a bit different than many of the speakers we've had early on in this series. So I'm very curious to kind of hear, what some of your opinions are and thoughts are around this. So can we start by maybe you telling us a little bit about what Keep Learning Strong kind of means to you, how it resonates with you?
Certainly. I think that everyone needs to be able to adjust. Certainly in the past couple of months, we've had to make a lot of adjustments in the way that we learn. And there were things that people would have never done before that they're having to do. And I'll give you an example. The manufacturing companies that I'm working with, this week we did a 2-day virtual train the trainer session on a new HRIS system. This program had been planned to be a 3-day face-to-face event. There were people that were going to fly in from all over the country. They had made hotel reservations, the space, I mean, it was all planned out. And then something happened and we had to shift gears. And they would have probably never considered doing this training virtually before. Luckily, we were able to pivot, and we had a really good, strong team. They listened to me about how we could still make the event engaging for our learners and what we were going to have to do. We had over 150 people on the call. So that's a challenge when you've got to keep those folks engaged for 2 days and you're talking about a technical topic. But you've got to be able to do that. You've got to be able to pivot. You've got to be able to take on new challenges and understand that life as we know it doesn't always continue down the path that we think it will. So to me, keeping learning strong is so important because we're always learning. We're always having to make adjustments. And if we don't, then we're going to be left behind. And we're not going to be able to keep up with things in our organization and keep up with things professionally and also personally. So we have to all be invested in that and be willing to have an open mind and have a little bit of faith in what we're doing.
Great, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. And I'm also wondering, and actually the example you just gave is probably a very good answer to the upcoming question. But I'll ask you maybe to dig deep and find another example. So not only how is the speed of change impacting your organization, but I like to roll in how are the current times the times of the COVID, as I refer to them, how are they impacting your organization as well?
Yeah, I think the big challenge for people is understanding how we can still be engaged and how we can still thrive as a community. And I think for most organizations, it just takes people having a little faith and also giving each other a little grace, because we're not all perfect virtual speakers. We're not all used to talking to each other this way. So we have to give ourselves some grace and know that it's not going to be perfect all the time, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Um, there's a Twitter account where somebody is going and taking pictures of people in their virtual environment. And thank goodness you can go in certain virtual platforms and you can change out your background. But I don't know if they looked at my background right now, if they'd give me a really high rating, because uh, it's I don't have a beach behind me or something. But you're going to find a lot of people that are just struggling. They're struggling with understanding how the organization is changing and how they can keep up with it. There are so many people that I've talked to that are just retiring, or just they're just not moving forward, and that's how they're dealing with the change, because they're just not dealing with it. But those of us that are remaining, we really have to think about how can we communicate, how can we work with each other in this new environment, because I don't personally think that things are going to change for us a whole lot, especially for the next 6 months, maybe a year. And if we want to exist in a global community, and we want to be able to have that exposure and that perspective with the global community, we need to be able to change the way we talk with people, the way that we communicate with them, and understand how that will impact us and our organizations.
Great. Thank you for that. And I'm also wondering, in these very unique times, can you share any common learning challenges that your clients and customers are sharing with you, or have you, through your networking, are there any stories you can tell us with regards to that?
Certainly. I can share one in particular. We had planned an event, and this is an ATD Houston example. We had planned an event back in April that was going to be a person-to-person event. And we had to pivot and turn that into a virtual event when we knew we would not be able to meet in person. And we got a lot of pushback from the community. They just did not want to have a virtual event. And we offered them the opportunity to attend the virtual event or to get a refund and for us to cancel the event. And the majority of people said that they did not want to have the virtual event. So we ended up canceling the event. Now, in retrospect, if we also thought about moving the event out. So if we have that event again in June or July, I think that we're going to have a different response, because people are a little more used to the virtual environment. But I think that that's a real challenge for people. If they're used to doing things in a face-to-face environment and not virtual, just making that change is hard. And I'm hearing that over and over again with clients. They don't know how to pivot. They don't know how to use the tools. One of my clients, they had just recently stopped using a lot of virtual platforms, and they went to just Microsoft Teams for their virtual platform, which is a great program. But if you're trying to do a learning program and you're really trying to engage people, it doesn't offer all the capabilities that you need. It's great to just chat and to share something, but with a program like Zoom, like we're using today, we can do so much more. We can take people into breakout rooms. We can have engaging polls or things for them to do. We can really have more of a a full-featured approach to the way that we communicate. And that's really hard for people to make that change and that transition and to understand that we're going to have to do those things. So I think that's part of it. There's also the challenge of, and you may have seen, there's some funny videos out where people are just having technology challenges. You spend the first 5 to 10 minutes of a meeting where everybody's saying, can you hear me? Do you see me? Is my audio on? I can't figure out how to do this, and so we've been doing a lot of training around just how to use virtual technologies because people can't do that. And they want to have the things that they're used to. We were on this call this week and we were using voice over IP, and someone kept on asking, can I dial into this meeting instead of having to come online on my computer? And we told them, we don't want you just to be on the meeting on the phone. We want to see you. We want you to be able to see what we're showing. It's not a phone meeting. And we really had to work hard to have them understand that. So I could see that those are, for me, technology problems are the challenges that we're having right now. And I think we're going to have a lot of problems, not just with technology, but we're going to have challenges with people trying to understand how to relate and how to communicate with people, not only virtually, but face to face, because we have some challenges that we're having to all face.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree with you. It feels like we're dragging some people kicking and screaming, right, and into this. But I think it will be interesting to in the years to come, get a feel for, rather maybe this has pushed us along a little faster too, and that I think it's forced some people to get out of their comfort zones a bit, and hopefully there'll be a nice carryover effect from that going forward. That's my hope, at least. And Candace, I think I'm going to hand it over to you and let you spend some time with Debbie as well.
Great, thank you, Roger. Debbie, thanks for your insight so far. And you have shared a little bit about just distance learning and what successful distance learning looks like, but curious from your perspective and all that you do, what does successful distance learning look like, and how has it enabled your efforts?
Oh, I think people need to treat distance learning just like they would treat any other type of learning. They need to be prepared. I would never go into a distance learning session without a video producer. Even if it's something that's small, I don't want to have to be the person handling those technology issues with a person not being able to get into the application or having those audio problems or anything. I really think that a video producer is so important to be able to handle those things, to be able to make sure that everyone is set up correctly. So for me, that's a really key component of successful distance learning. That means that as a facilitator, I can concentrate on my message and my content, and that's what I should be doing. I also think that we need to make sure that we are engaging the audience. There are so many different ways we can do that. There can be as simple as asking people to raise their hands to show that they're acknowledging what they're doing. We need to teach people how to communicate in distance learning, how they will engage with each other, and then also having the tools and techniques to keep people motivated so they're not distracted, so they're not looking off at their emails or something else, that they're paying attention, that they're all in. And I think technology has really helped us with that. There are some great programs. There continue to be good programs that allow us to really make a rich, engaging program. But you have to have people who are trained and who understand how to present virtually. So if anyone is thinking about doing that and they're thinking about making the change, ATD, the Learning Guild, There are a number of other companies that offer some really good programs to help you understand how to do that. And there are even certification programs, and I would highly recommend that.
Yeah. I like that advice because it really shows that it is a science behind it. It's not just, you know, this is the program that we had offline, person to person, and now let's just make it virtual. You really have to understand the technique behind it so that it's successful. Yeah. And so can you share any helpful advice that you have for business leaders and L&D leaders as it relates to keeping learning strong, what we're dealing with all the change currently?
I certainly can. I was on a call earlier. We're planning at ATD Houston, we're planning our conference for the fall. And we were talking about how can we engage our community to understand why they should attend the conference. And what I said is that we spend so much time making sure our people are learning. As a business leader, an L&D leader, you're always encouraging people to take professional development training, to become better leaders, to become better listeners. We don't do that for ourselves.
Mm.
You know, a lot of times we don't think about our own personal education. We need to do that. We need to take time to do that. Attend a class. There's so many classes online. LinkedIn Learning has fabulous courses. There are other companies that offer courses that you can take just to stretch yourself or to learn something new. I think that I'm a lifelong learner, and I'm always trying new things and trying different technologies. And I think that's something that we all need to do is challenge ourselves. And I would challenge business and L&D leaders to do that as well.
Yes, great point. So, given what you know today and over the last 2 to 3 months, and maybe even beyond that point, what do you think are the most relevant and needed skills and competencies for the workforce today?
Well, that's a great question. You know, I always, first of all, think about technology things, but I do think that one of the things that we really need to look at, and I'm thinking back to a conversation that I had to a college student that I spoke to recently. They were talking to me about going out in the workplace and understanding how to be a part of a business community. And they asked me about the skills and competencies that they needed. And I replied that one of the things that's most important is to understand how to listen.
Mm.
I think there are a lot of people that are really good communicators, but we still don't have a lot of good listeners. And I don't think with technology and with the way things are changing, we've got to do that even more. So being more aware of what's going on, and also understanding what's going on in your organization as a whole. There's so many people that get wrapped up in their own departments and their own day-to-day activities that they don't look at the core values of the company, and they don't think about the impact that they have on those core values. So when you're thinking about things that you want to do in your organization, whether it's L&D or HR or with any other type of business organization, always look at how does that impact the organization as a whole, and how can you help with addressing the core values, whether it's innovation or EBITDA or whatever it is, with your with what you're doing and being aware of that organization. ADD has a new capabilities model, and they talk about how you can improve yourself and how you can develop things both at a personal, a professional, and an organizational level. And I've been studying and looking a lot at the organizational level, and I think that's one place that we tend to not think about and that we should.
That's great. I'm glad you brought up that model. When I first was introduced to it, I thought it was such a great way to sort of put together what talent development does. So thanks for sharing that and your thoughts there. So self-care is major right now, and just, we're all going through a change, and there's a bit of a process of adjustment. So what have you been doing in terms of self-care during this time?
Well, working from home a lot, I have been aware of being at home. I used to travel quite a bit and spend a lot of time in my office. And now that I'm home, I have two big dogs. So being able to be with those dogs and take them out for walks in the neighborhood and just explore the neighborhood has been really wonderful. And I think that all my neighbors are doing that too. And it's great because it's a time for self-reflection. I usually have my cell phone with me just so that if I need to make a call or something, I have it, but I try not to listen to music or listen to anything. I just want to be able to reflect and to think about and look at my surroundings. And I think that that has been wonderful to be able to do that, to take a time out and not be, even though I'm busy. I mean, I'm busy. I'm still working 12 hours a day, but I don't have that commute. I'm not making those trips to the airport and thinking about all that traveling. So there's time for reflection. And I think that's really important for all of us.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, when you said commute, I instantly thought about the Houston traffic that we've all been able to get away from for a bit of time. And so, final words, Debbie, you've done a fabulous job of just sharing how to keep learning strong. But just moving forward, how do you plan to keep learning strong?
Well, like I said, I'm very involved in my community and also with my customers. And I think for me, I try to set an example by sharing a lot of good resources with the community, opening them up to things, thinking about things that we can do. And I would say that we need to encourage the young people. I'm a real strong supporter of STEM programs, especially for young women. And we need people still interested in the sciences. We need to encourage them and to share and to enrich their lives. So that's what we've got to do. You know, um, I still love to look at new things. I have my virtual reality glasses and love to experiment and do things. And we need to share those things with others. We need to share our experiences and we need to help them as well. So anything you can do, whether it's in social media or in your community or with the people around you to encourage them as well. I think we need to be mentors. And then we need to also make time for ourselves. On my calendar, I put appointments for myself for my own professional development. And I treat them as things that I need to do. You don't cancel those appointments,
Yeah.
even if it's just 30 minutes where you can go out and you can learn something, or you can read a magazine, you can read a book or do something, but just keep going, just keep learning.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Debbie. It's been really great to have you today. Roger knew I was very excited that we got you to accept and come on, because I think your perspective, as we've seen today, is really valuable, especially to the community and as we're just trying to promote learning and the value that it brings personally and at an organizational level. So Debbie, if you don't mind just sharing how people can connect with you, how should they reach?
Certainly.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. So I'm active on Twitter. My Twitter account is CRE8IVEII.com. I'm out on LinkedIn. And you can also reach me through the ATD Houston chapter. I'm very active there. And the website is tdhouston.org.
Wonderful. Thank you. And we just encourage you all to share your story. Like Roger said earlier, let us know how you're keeping learning strong. Let us know if this campaign inspires you and what you're doing in your company or personally to keep learning strong at #KeepLearningStrong, Twitter, LinkedIn, and also at innovationsolutions.com.
Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you for everything that you are doing. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you, Debbie. It was a pleasure. Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.